I'm afraid that these pistons are on backward. So today's special business is going to be putting together the short block. So I have my Hastings piston rings. I have my pistons on my rods. My oil bearing clearances have all been checked and measured. That was the last video. If you didn't see that, check that out. Don't go anywhere. You're supposed to check your measurement in the dots. So that's what I'm going to do. I actually had already checked this a couple times before I turn the old camera on. 4 thousandths past once around 29-ish thousandths. So 4.029. Actually, it's a skinny 4. Reset it here. See if I get the same thing. I'm going to put both of my anvils, or whatever they call those. I'm not sure what they call them. I'm going to use the ratcheting knob at the end here. It clicks, lets you know that you're right in terms of it only tightens the barrel to a certain tightness because you don't want it over tight. And that should be it. And let me lock this in place with, and that appears to be right about where we just were. And now I'm going to get my dial bore gauge set to this measurement, which I kind of did roughly. We'll see how close I am. Decided to go with the old tennis shoes today. It's cold out here. I do have heated socks though. I tell you what, really nice. Because if my feet can stay warm, I'm good. Like I don't need a lot if my feet are warm. You have to make sure when you're zeroing out your dial bore gauge, you got to make sure you're not pushing this thing into the mic. So I'm going to be focusing my pressure here on the other end. And I don't know if you're seeing the 0. Yeah, I mean, it's on the 0. So we're zeroed out. That means anything past this 0 mark, when I get this in the bore, is going to be how many thousandths bigger my bore is than my piston. Put this in the bore, slide that down, and I'm getting 2, well, about 3, almost 3. Just a smidge under 3 thousandths. All right, I'm going to start with the oil rings. I'm going to shove this down in there. Use a piston to push them down so that they're level. Take my feeler gauge. Well, 20 fits. Yeah, 21 fits. Well, 22 fits. I think I am in plenty good shape. And here is the second ring. And the second ring has an indicator, top. So that's got to go up. There's actually a chamfer. Let me see that. There's a bevel on the underside, inside, bottom, there's a bevel. And so that top, that's got to go up. But this is the second ring, second compression ring. There's some debate as to what you want these to be. I was just doing a little reading about that today. All right, this is 22, and that's not going. And there was some great debate on one of the forums, one of the Mustang forums I was on. That's 20, and that's not going. Well, I may end up doing some filing on this then. Ford specs are, but 10 to 20 is what they say is acceptable. And there were guys saying that should not be doing 10, they say. That's way too tight. 17. All right, so that's going to I'm going to open that up some. I want my second ring to be at least 20. So that's going to have to be opened up with a file. And these are just cast rings. The top rings have no marking. There's no dot. There's no top. There's no chamfer. So they're just going in. So I got to quit putting them down so far. It's hard to get my feeler gauge down in there. And these will, oh, that's even less than 17. These pistons, the hyperdetectic, or however you say it, the top ring groove is closer to the top of the piston than a standard piston. So that's a stock piston. Those rings are closer to the top of the piston. And so that makes these much more susceptible to blowing out a ring land. That also makes the top rings closer to the heat. Oh boy, closer to the heat. And so you need a bigger gap on that top ring. So yeah, I'm going to have to open these up. I got to get a file set up. See how that does. Oh, that's probably a little too big. Let's go 25. 25, trying to go. Yep, 24. And now I got to take some off of the top ring. Do I just go ahead and use a needle file? Okay. See how it's narrow on the outside edge, narrower than it is on the inside. Can't have that. All right, that looks consistent. Last time I did this, it was for a 4-cylinder. Yeah, it's gonna take a minute. Okay, 26. I don't have a 27. No, 28 won't go. 26 goes. We'll call it 27. Keith Black and Silverlight and all the hypereutectic pistons, they say to run 6.5 thousandths per inch of bore, which would put me at 26 for the top ring, and I'm at 27. So I'm good with that. They say then, and they is a bunch of people on the World Wide Web, to run a slightly larger gap on your second ring. So I open that up a little bit more to get a little bit larger than the top ring, because apparently when compression gases leak down past the top ring and get stuck, if this gap isn't big enough, when those pressures get stuck between the two rings, it lifts the top ring and flutters. That affects your compression. And so they say to get the top or the second ring a couple thousandths larger to allow that pressure to escape. I would think that it would anyway, because this ring won't expand as much as this ring, because it will be not as hot down at the second ring. So whatever. I put those in a baggie, labeled them number 1. So those pistons, or those rings now, are ready to go on this piston when I get to assembly. So next up will be me going through all of that process again for 7 more pistons. I can hardly wait for that. Well, it didn't take me long to get tired of messing with the file and having to remove as much as I'm having to remove, because I checked on some statistics here. I'm going 30 on the top ring, which sounds like a lot. Per inch of bore, you need 6.5 thousandths. That puts me at 26, a shade over 26 thousandths. And again, they're calling those minimums. So I decided 30 was good. Second ring that I did was 29, and I have come to the conclusion that that's too much, which I'm sure some of you were thinking the same thing. What is he doing? And so I went 24 on the second ring. They say about 5 thousandths per inch of bore, which would put me at 20, but I wanted to go a little bit bigger just to be totally safe. Because again, those are minimums, they're saying. And of course, the oil rings, I mean, they are what they are. They just have to be, I think, 30 or 15 minimum. So whatever they are, like I haven't had to file an oil ring yet. So anyway, I got tired of dealing with the file. So I rigged up the old, I don't know, call it a redneck ring grinder. It's not a bad idea if it works. Yeah. Okay. We'll see. This is the top ring on number 6. So I'm getting somewhere. I just measured this one at 17 thousandths in number 6, and I need 30. So it's going to take a little bit to take off some material, but this is the deal. You usually get a little bit of a burr. Depending on how fast you take off material, you'll get a little burr build up from the wheel, and you definitely want to knock that off. Yep, I'm at 19. Oh my gosh. I thought I got this figured out, but apparently I don't. This is what takes so dang long. You're back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. 28. Yes. Oh, we might have gotten it. Hope I didn't go too far. 32. Oh boy. Went a little far. How'd I go from 20 to 32? I don't know. Finally finished up number 8. I found it by the end easier, but actually just to hold the ring freehand up here, I don't know, I just had a better feel for it. It measured like 15 or 16 thousandths. I took one cut, went back, checked. It was perfect 30. So it only took 16 compression rings, but I finally figured out about how much needed to be taken off. Those top rings, all of them fell within, Ford specs of 10 to 20 thousandths ring gap. Second rings, they were all in the 15 to 20 thousandths. So really, in terms of stock pistons, it would have been fine the way they were. But with Hyper-Eutectic, I had to file them all. And when you're taking off 15 thousandths, I mean, that takes a second. Well, I brought out my rear main seal and was going to put the crank in. First, I knocked the little pin out that holds the rope seal. I knocked it out. There was so much seal sticking out, both the cap and the block. I don't know that there's any way it could have worked. But I'm going to wait, because then I started looking at the block and I thought, you know what? How about I get this thing painted before I start putting the crank and the pistons in? I'd rather have it painted when I assemble the short block. So I need to do some masking and some wire wheeling and get this. I mean, that's a mess. For having been through the hot tank, and I guess it wasn't bead blasted like the heads were. That's kind of a mess. So I got some cleanup to do. I'm still on hold. Can't put my crank in because I've been fooling around with this Velcro rear main, which is just plain a no-go. And let me tell you, I've been on the forums and I have read and read and read. I've seen and heard of guys changing their rear mains 3 or 4 times and then leaking every time. I can't even imagine. But anyway, doesn't that block look nice? I went with the Ford Dark Blue. This thing isn't even the right engine for this 66 Mustang anyway. So, whatever. I think it looks great. Where was I? Oh yeah, I have placed it flush in the cap on one side, flush in the block on the one side. And again, I know you don't install it this way, but I'm doing this to measure my stick out here for the crush. I already shaved about 20 thousandths per side off, like the whole. I had a diamond plate. I took each half of the hoop and cleared off about 20 thousandths each. So this is the stick out that I have after I've already taken 20 thousandths off of each half. Let's take the old caliper here and let's see what we have. About 55 thousandths-ish. Let's check the other. right, 68, 69, 70, something like that. So what I say, 55, 70. That's 1/8 of an inch. Solid steel core. There's no way you're going to get 1/8 of an inch of crush. Well, technically, the separation between the block and the cap would be half of that, because obviously it's being split between the two halves. So if I had that split out equally and equally here, again, we're going to have a 1/16 of an inch of crush. Now, I've heard 20 thousandths is good for a crush for a rear main, but not 60 to 65 thousandths. And that's after already having removed 20 off of each. Guys have been having issues with Velcro for years. Rear mains not sealing. If there's too much crush, that's going to make the whole hoop expand out because there's too much circumference. So it's going out, which means this is never going to seal on the crank. I have on its way to me an SCE AccuSeal. I believe part number 13604 is coming, and that's the seal I will use. I will not use the Velcro. It's a known issue, and still we have seals that are getting sent out that do not fit. So careful about that. 5 degrees outside, and I decide it's a good time to get assembly going. Well, I'm going to put the rear main seal in, which I went with the AccuSeal, the SCE seal. As you can see there, there's actually some silicone sticking up beyond the metal, the steel core. And I checked the crush. It is far better than the Velcro. So that is going to be the seal I use. They say to use gasket cinch on the back side and on the block and rear main cap. And so Permatex High Tack apparently is similar to that, since I can't get gasket cinch locally. I put just a dab of gasket maker number 2, I think maybe, from Permatex, in the pin hole that used to be for the pin that held the rope seal. So I put just a little dab in that. Of course, that's going to have the oil pan gasket over that anyway. So it says to use some of that on the back side of the seal. I've never used this before, so we'll see. How am I going to not get it everywhere? This stuff is so dang stringy. All right, get the correct side toward the correct side. Slide that in. And this AccuSeal is not supposed to be offset on the parting line. It's supposed to be at the parting line. So I did notice that this is far, this is far looser fit than the Velcro. Velcro fit in the slot much tighter. Now that needs to be grooved toward the crank. So that is in place. Lucas assembly lube, which I've been using. Well, this bottle is, it's probably 30 years old. Well, there's no probably about it. I believe it's 30 years old. The moment I've been waiting for. Oh, I forgot to lube the seal. Arr. Okay. Back in. All right. The high tack needs to be down here, outboard of the, oh boy, gonna have to wipe most of that off. Assembly lube on the top bearing cap. Okay, now let me grab a mallet, give it a couple of wraps from the back, if I can. All right, I'll start from the middle. I'll go 25. Let's go to 50. Now let's go 65. I get my dial indicator out because we got to measure the end play. All right, so I've got my dial indicator set up here. I'm going to push the crank all the way to the back of the engine. Then I got to move my zero. It is all the way back. All right, now push it all the way forward. Maybe. And I am 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I am 5 thousandths forward now. So from all the way back, zero there, to all the way forward, 5 thousandths. So that's well within spec. I believe 4 to 8. 4 to 8 is spec. So we are zero again all the way back, and 5 all the way forward. Good. I was hoping I wouldn't have to do anything to the thrust bearings, and I don't. So good news. I actually just took all the main caps back off, or not the caps, but the bolts out. Put a little bit of oil on them because they weren't dry, but I hadn't specifically gone through and oiled each bolt. And they're supposed to have a little bit of lube on them before you torque them. 30 years ago, I didn't know and didn't care. And now I'm paranoid about every little thing. All right, so this is the oil separator ring. Oh, I already put it in wrong. This part right here, the joint, that needs to be pointing up. So that, where they come together, needs to be pointing up on the piston. And I had it the other way around. I needed to buy one ring. I needed to buy top compression ring for my number 5 piston because, let me show you. Number 5 piston, I dropped it at one point. The number 5 compression, oh yeah, you can see it there. I dropped it on my grinding wheel and I nicked it. It's shiny around it because I did take, I took a push rod and kind of burnished it to see if I could take care of if there were any high spots there. But rather than risk it, I went ahead and bought a new set of rings. You can buy a single cylinder set, but shipped from Rock Auto, that was going to be like 15 bucks. A whole new set was going to cost 29. So I got a whole new set because what if I break a couple on installation? Just had a friend of mine putting together his AMC 360 and broke one of his compression rings. Had to buy a whole new set. The very last ring he was putting on. Clocking of the rings, I have seen and heard so much stuff. As much movement as the rings have while the engine is operating, I just don't know that it matters that much. Now this is the second compression ring, and this has an orientation. Top, hold on, let me check for a burr. I believe I cleaned it all up. Yeah. Last time I did this, I just pulled these suckers apart and got them over the piston and said good enough. So I have never done this with, okay, that's top. This is the second compression ring. What I don't know is how much can I expand it. There we go, getting it over. Next one. Am I in? In like Flynn. Okay. This makes me about as nervous as you know what. Come on, get in there. There we go. Well, that was not too terrible. Spring compressor. Not a huge fan of these, but this is what I've used before. So let me clean this sucker up. I'm going to get some oil on my piston. I'm going to clean this thing out and hopefully get a piston put in. Oh, that's good. I put the compressor on upside down. Okay, let's try this again. Mark on the piston facing forward. Oh, that's not good. Ring came out. Oh boy. Nope, no good. Struggle, my friends, is real. Well, after that struggle bus, First, my camera died. Second, I got 2 pistons in. I got number 1, number 5 in, and so I'm gonna just keep on moving. This is just, I think, Castrol 1030 or something, so it's not like it's something special. Just put some oil on this so they are not dry going in. And what I had done, the first issue, as I was tapping the piston in, the compressor started to slip up, and it allowed a ring to sneak out under the ring compressor. Okay, keep downward pressure on the compressor. And we are in. So, there you have it. Guide it so the rod bolts don't gouge the crank. It is fully seated and home. I was a little worried last night when after I got the second piston in, I gave it a crank after it had been sitting in the garage after I had shut the heat off for the night, and it was tough to spin. And I thought, uh-oh, am I missing something? And wait a second. Are these? I'm afraid that these pistons are on backward. Not remembering is if the chamfer should be toward the crank, and right now it is not. It is opposite. Just talk to the engine shop, and it does turn out that these rods are on backward. The lesson is double check everything. That chamfer and the setback of the bearing right there is supposed to be on that, so that should be flipped around to over here. That bearing right there is riding right on that radius of the crank. And so that's not good. That would have chewed up that bearing, and I'd have been in a world of hurt, because right now that rod isn't even touching the crank, and it should be over further, and it can't be because that bearing is stopping it, which is why I felt like it was a little more difficult once I put the second piston in, number 5 in. It seemed like it was a little harder to rotate than it should be, and that's apparently why. So I'm glad I caught it now, but yeah, I got to take these 3 out and back to the machine shop to get those switched. Third time is a charm. Got my pistons and rods back. They got switched, took them over to the shop. So they are in the correct orientation now. Thank God. I'm glad I checked. I wish I'd checked after number 1, but I kind of just, got carried away and was just glad I was putting pistons in. So rings back on now, the 3 I already had in, and then back to putting pistons in. I hope for the last time. Number 1, here we go. I just double checked the old directions on the Hastings. So I have the split in the expander here, and then they say to put your steel retainer rings 1 inch on either side of that. I'm not sure why exactly that matters. And there we go. Back in the saddle. All right, we're home. I feel like I've been here before. I feel like I've done this. I am much happier with how numbers 1 and 5 spin now with the torque wrench. So we're talking last time when I had 1 and 5 in, it was 15 foot-pounds to get it to rotate. Now we're looking at like 5. Yeah, much, much, much easier rotation because they are now oriented correctly. Whew. That's a load off. 6 more to go. Took a while, but it's finally done. All 8 pistons are in the holes. There they are. Sitting beside my kerosene heater. Actually getting pretty toasty in here. It's blowing snow out there now. We got 8 to 10 inches on the forecast. So I've got them all in, torqued them all, and let's see how much tension it is to spin this thing. See what's going on here. I'm getting 15 right there. 15 or less now that it's moving. About 12 and a half. I was getting about 15 with just 1 and 5 in when the rods were backward. Not good. That would have been disastrous. I decided I was going to go ahead and check my deck clearance with the new pistons in, which should be 20 thousandths higher. The last pistons I had were 1.585 compression height. These are 1.605, and that's what the stock piston was. The block has been decked 10 thousandths. So I am set up here at 0 on the deck. So let me move this around. So when it stops and turns around, that looks like about 5, which is what I had said it was going to be. Coming back up, so just a hair over 5. So that's what I was calculating it was going to be based on the other pistons and these pistons. So hey, that's good. Let's see what that cylinder 6 is at the top, 1 and 6 at the same time. Let me throw it on that one and see what that says. Ooh, that's only 2 thousandths. So we're not the same everywhere. To check another piston. I'm still 0 on the deck. Yeah. Ooh, about 1.5. With a 40 thousandths head gasket, that's still going to be, fine for quench. It's just, that's not what I was expecting. All right, let's check number 7. Ooh, 1, hair over 1. How about 3? Okay, so now we're about 3. Right at the top, we are at 0. 0 deck. I just double checked. I went through every cylinder again. I zeroed the deck here, and then I swung it over to the center of the piston to not have any rock. And it ranged from 0 deck to 5 thousandths below deck. So with a 40 thousandths head gasket, that should again put me in the 40 to 45 thousandths quench. I think that's going to be just fine. Next, though, I'm going to go ahead and stick in the old Howard's cam. Not for good. So I don't want this in there for good right now because it's going to be a while. I mean, it's end of nasty January, and we're not anywhere near ready for me to be able to get this thing fully assembled. So this is not to officially install the cam. So I'm not even going to put anything on the lobes. I'm just going to put a little bit of assembly lube on the actual journals here, just because as this goes in, at least it'll deposit something on the bearings. Some guys saying that you cannot use a double roller with an early 289, and this is an early 289, 64, that the early timing cover is shallower and will be a problem for a double roller. And what I have is a double roller for a 2-piece fuel eccentric, not the original 1-piece, because mine is absolutely destroyed. So let me get these in there without causing any issues. Well, I couldn't find my long bolt, but I did find a vice grip. So, okay, cam retainer plate. Now this is the original that came with it. I'm not seeing much wear on it. So, I mean, I think it looks pretty good. There's nothing to indicate that there's any significant wear here. And my 2-piece fuel eccentric, it actually came in a Comp Cam's finishing kit, it says, for small block Ford, for like $33 instead of buying a new hardened 1-piece fuel eccentric for literally like 150 bucks. I mean, this one got smoked, just absolute smoked. I mean, look at that galling. I mean, just, it took some serious abuse and took some material out of this thing. So I wasn't going to do that. Now I got to check and see, can I? Oh, it even comes with the pin, proper pin for this fuel eccentric for the 2-piece, and the new cam thrust plate bolts that actually, I mean, the cam itself comes with both dowels of correct length, whether it's a 1-piece or a 2-piece. I was willing to pay 33 bucks, and it's even, that kit's even got the head dowels, transmission dowels, locators, whatever you want to call them. I'm not going to torque anything. I just want to get a ballpark, like, do I have room? I guess I could check my cam Endplay. So I'm using a Howard's timing set. I forget what the part number is. But again, it's for a small block Ford with a 2-piece fuel eccentric. Okay. The kit even comes with the new cam bolt, new washer, and your 2-piece. The tang goes in the hole for the dowel. Oh yeah. We're even timed right. Even just for fun. My cam Endplay. That seems more than 7 thousandths. Said 1 to 7 thousandths is okay. I'm probably going to have to set up the, oh Lord, I just put that away. Okay, so here's what I'm going to do. I just want to check. I mean, I can throw the timing cover on and make sure it, hits everywhere. Pull this out as far as it'll come. Throw this on. It's not being held away, but I don't know how much room. I guess I could put some clay on there. I actually think I have some. Or I can just put this thing in straight as an arrow. So I'll pull this out as far as it'll go. I'll tell you what, I need about 4 hands here because it's got some play on here. So I'm going to pull out as I'm holding that. All right, 1.709. Okay. All right, 1.752. So 1 3/4 from the outside edge of the eccentric to the block. Now let's take the timing cover, lay that across there, and let's just see what we have here. Right about there. Right there. All right, so I have 3/4 of an inch almost. I mean, 3/4. I got 75 thousandths. That's not 3/4 of an inch. About 70 thousandths. So I got a 1/16 of an inch. And that's without gasket. And that's without any of this up actually torqued. I am saying that a double roller will indeed work on a early timing cover. That's what I'm saying. Well, this is another piece of good news. All right, I have my dial indicator set up here on the timing gear itself. Pushed fully back, cam's pushed fully back, and it is at 0. I pulled this thing out, and that's 40 thousandths. I'm seeing between 1 and 7 is what is supposed to be allowable. That's not 1 to 7. That's a lot. So I'm gonna have to do some figuring on this. I don't know what that means, but that doesn't seem right. Okay, I've been doing some serious measuring out here. The cam Endplay was a major concern. That was 40 thousandths. So then I started looking at my thrust plate and set it on here, and that means that gap of that sprocket that's sticking up or sticking out past the thrust plate, that's my cam Endplay, and that's what's 40 thousandths. That's too much. So went in, did a little searching and realized that, and did a little measuring, this thrust plate is 0.217. That's an early 289 measurement, was 0.217. So I got on the old interwebs and found a Melling thrust plate, which is 0.252. So, and again, it has the third little tab on it for oiling. And so that, loosen this up, is again 0.252. So 0.252 and 0.217, that's 35 thousandths. So that brings my cam Endplay down to 5 thousandths. Okay, well, I'm good with that. So I was either going to have to mill 35 thousandths off of this, which would have actually brought that sprocket back further. And I'm not sure if that would have interfered on the backside with anything. That could have helped my fuel eccentric, get that back 35 more thousandths. But anyway, I went ahead and picked up the thicker end plate from the stock original. So I believe Endplay has now been resolved with the new thrust plate. If you've actually made it this far, then God bless you. So putting together the 289, one issue after another, but I kept plugging away, and it's at least getting there. I'm getting this stuff figured out. It'll get put together. Oh, I even got my, I don't know if these are going to fit or not, but somebody on some forum somewhere said that they fit on their 289. So valve stem seals. These are the Engine Tech S305V, I believe. So we'll see. I don't know. I don't want to use umbrella seals if I can avoid it. So those came in as well. I just keep buying stuff, whatever. I don't. Hey, if anything in this video is remotely helpful, hit that like and subscribe. Keep checking in, seeing the progress, seeing the idiocy and the mistakes and whatever. So, hey, thanks for coming by. If you haven't, then you're not seeing this. I guess I'll see you. I don't know. Maybe I won't see you. Maybe you'll see me next time.